Hi Rooted, I hope you guys are all well. Today I'm bringing you the 48th reason of why Jesus came to die, which is sad because it means it's almost over this series and I've really enjoyed it. I hope you guys have as well. But today's reason is to gain his joy and ours. And Piper draws primarily from Hebrews chapter 12 verse 2 that reads, "For the joy that was set before him he endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God." Now, it will come as no surprise to you guys when I say that the path to joy or the path to heaven is a hard one. We experience trials and sufferings, and it's in these times that we must rely on God and trust in his promises that he makes us, which can be really hard. But we have the perfect example of how this is done and what this looks like in Jesus. Jesus experienced so much hardship during his time on earth, but he knew that his sufferings were moving him closer to his joy of being in heaven with God, and this is seen with his death on the cross. For the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross. First, he had to experience the agony on the cross to then be and experience the joy of heaven. It had to happen in this order. Now, Jesus, as the Son of God, was so aware of the joys set before him, the joy of being reunited with his Father. In your presence there is fullness of joy. The joy of victory over sin. After making purification for sins, he sat down at the right hand of the Majesty on high. It was the joy of divine rights being restored. He is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. So that is Jesus' joy being gained. Him fulfilling his role and rejoicing in heaven with the Father. But what about our joy? Jesus has got his, but we're still down here suffering, right? Well, no. Because of Jesus' death, with him taking the punishment of sin for us, he has made the connection between his joy and ours. As Jesus says in John chapter 15 verse 11, "These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full." So those of us who trust in him will rejoice with as much joy as Jesus. It's crazy to think that one day we will experience as much joy as Jesus will experience his joy, which I look forward to. But Jesus doesn't hide behind the fact that the road to this joy is still hard. He warns us of this. "In the world you will have tribulations," John 16:33. "Some of you will be put to death. You will be hated by all for my name's sake." Jesus walked a difficult path to joy, and it is that same joy that we are walking towards. In the same way that the hope of joy enabled Christ to die, to endure the cross, our hope of joy empowers us to suffer with Christ. He prepared us for this in Matthew chapter 5 verse 11 to 12. "Blessed are you when others rival you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven." If Jesus had not lovingly died on the cross for us, we would have had to face punishment for our own sins, and we would have not been able to deal with it. So at the cross, Jesus' joy is gained through him being able to fulfill his role and join God in heaven, and also our joy is gained because he enables us to one day be rejoicing in heaven with them. And because of this, we follow him in his path of love. As Paul writes to the Romans in chapter 8 verse 18, "The sufferings of the present time are not worth comparing to the glory that is to be revealed to us." So it's the hope of heaven's joy that will give us the strength to endure our sufferings. The psalmist of Psalm 31 sums up this hope by saying in verse 8, "Weeping may tarry for the night, but joy comes in the morning." I really hope this has helped you guys see the joy that we have in heaven and the joy that we can take from Jesus' death because of what it means for us. And I just hope that it means that if any of you are suffering, or when you go through suffering, that you'll remember that that there is joy to be found in our sufferings. And I know that can be really hard to think about, but it's the joy of knowing what's awaiting us in heaven one day with the Father. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!